Hello, today we will be talking about processors. My friend here will be doing a disassembly, reassembly on how to install and install and take out a processor. The first thing he's going to be doing is picking up his anti-static wrist strap and putting it on. The anti-static wrist strap is one of the most important things you use with a computer. Without an anti-static wrist strap, you can easily fry your computer in many ways that you can't see. So while he does this disassembly of the processor, the heatsink is the first thing he's going to be removing. The heatsink is one of the most important things they use to cool the processor and keep the air away from the processor. Without a heatsink, your computer will shut off or won't even turn on. So while he takes out the heatsink, the next thing you're going to see is the processor. Most important thing is it's like the brain of a computer. Without a processor, you cannot run a computer. Placement of the processor is towards the middle left of the motherboard. Be very careful when you're taking it out because of the pins. If you break a pin, you're breaking the processor and you just spend all your money. It's a waste of money. And when holding the processor in place, you want to make sure that you know how it goes in. There's a triangle on the processor on the top, and then there's a triangle in the processor slot where it lines up, where you can insert the processor and put down the socket lever. So between the processor and the heatsink, you must have thermal paste. Without thermal paste, this is kind of what you need to run the processor. And your computer needs a processor to run. Without the processor, your computer won't run. So, and then the cores. Do you want to?
Yes. Alright, in the processor die, there might not just be one core. See, this may look like one processor, but if it has multiple cores, it's like having multiple processors. There are processors with 2 cores, 4 cores, or even 8 cores, but they'll all look like and be compacted into one processor die. The processor die it still will probably get as hot or even more hot than a normal processor because it has more than one inside of it, but it does increase performance. If you have a processor with a single core and a processor with a dual core, and they're each run at the same speed, the dual core will still be faster because both cores run at the same speed. Add them up and it will be more. Okay, the thermal paste is very important for transferring heat between the heatsink and the processor. Just having it without thermal paste or thermal pad will cause it to overheat, or it might not overheat, but it would be extremely hot and may freeze easily. Thermal pads versus thermal paste is very easy to decipher because thermal paste has way better heat transfer than thermal pads. After the thermal paste transfers heat to the heatsink, the fan will blow the heat away from the heatsink and then cools, therefore cooling down the processor.